Hello, Dr. Grande here. Today I'll be analyzing the case of Jennifer Dulos and Michelle Troconis. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Jennifer Dulos was born on September 27, 1968 in New York City. Her father and mother were both involved in banking and were wealthy. Jennifer had one older sister. In 1990, Jennifer graduated with a bachelor's degree and would eventually earn a master's degree. In 2004, she married a man named Fotis Dulos. Fotis had been born in Turkey in 1967, but grew up in Greece. He was a competitive water skier. In 1986, he moved to the United States and worked as a real estate developer. He specialized in high-end properties, like mansions. In 2000, Fotis married a woman named Hillary. He and Hillary divorced just 1 month before Fotis married Jennifer. He had romantically pursued Jennifer before his divorce. 7 years after marrying, Fotis and Jennifer moved into a 10,000 square foot mansion located on 4 Jefferson Crossing in Farmington, Connecticut. The couple went on to have 5 children. Fotis traveled quite a bit for water skiing competitions. In 2016, when he was in Miami, he met a woman named Michelle Troconis. She had been born in 1974 in Venezuela. Michelle had a lot in common with Fotis. For instance, she had a pronounced interest in sports. She once owned a TV production company and a horse therapy business, had worked as a host for ESPN, and was a competitive water skier. Just for the sake of clarity, the horse therapy business was designed to provide psychotherapy to human beings using horses, not a business providing psychotherapy to horses. The limited responses of horses make counseling them challenging. It's never a yay, always a nay. Fotis and Michelle started having an affair. It didn't take long for Jennifer to find out about this affair, and understandably she was not happy. She filed for divorce in June 2017 and moved her 5 children into a rented mansion on 69 Wellis Lane in New Canaan, Connecticut, about 75 miles southwest of Farmington. The mansion was only 7,400 square feet, so a real step down for Jennifer. It must have been a tough adjustment. In divorce documents, Jennifer made several claims against her husband. For example, she believed that filing for divorce would make her husband enraged, and he would certainly retaliate against her. He had threatened to kidnap her children if she did not agree to his divorce settlement terms. And he recently purchased a firearm. Fotis said that he did purchase a gun, but it was for home defense, definitely not for retaliation. In March 2018, Jennifer was awarded sole physical custody of her 5 children because her husband had violated several court orders. He was not willing to follow the rules. He was only allowed contact with the children in the form of supervised visitation and monitored phone calls. Michelle Troconis moved in with Fotis as the divorce proceedings continued. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On May 24, 2019, at around 7 p.m., Jennifer Dulos was reported missing by her friends. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. Jennifer was seen dropping her children off at a private school that day. At 8:05 a.m., she was captured by a neighbor's security camera returning home. Later that day, Jennifer missed 2 appointments in New York City. Inside her home, the police found blood in several locations, including in her 2014 Range Rover, which was parked in the garage. Blood found on the kitchen sink faucet was a mixture of her blood and the blood of her husband, Fotis. Her husband's blood was also found on the inside doorknob of a mudroom door. At 10:25 a.m., Jennifer's black 2017 Chevrolet Suburban was captured by a neighbor's security camera leaving her house. At about 7 p.m., the Suburban was found near a park just over 3 miles away. There was blood on the passenger side of the vehicle. Using video surveillance and cell phone data, the police were able to construct a timeline. On the day that Jennifer was reported missing, May 24, 2019, a red 2001 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck was seen departing from an empty 10,000 square foot mansion on 80 Mountain Spring Road in Farmington, Connecticut. This was at 5:35 a.m. The mansion was being renovated for sale by Fotis and was only 2 miles from his mansion. The pickup truck belonged to one of his employees and had been borrowed by Fotis without permission. The Tacoma traveled to the park where Jennifer's Suburban was later found. At 7:31 a.m., video surveillance captured a person in dark clothing with a hood pulled down over their face, riding a bicycle toward Jennifer's rented mansion. As I mentioned, Jennifer's Suburban left at 10:35 a.m. The Tacoma returned to the mansion on Mountain Spring Road at 12:22 p.m. Between 7:31 and 7:50 p.m., Fotis and his affair partner, Michelle Troconis, were captured on video surveillance driving around Hartford, Connecticut. Fotis dumped bags in 30 different garbage containers around the city. When those bags were recovered, the police made a few discoveries, including a glove containing the DNA of Fotis, his DNA on the outside of a bag, and zip ties, clothing, and cleaning supplies, which were stained with Jennifer's blood. Video cameras also captured Fotis placing an envelope containing 2 altered Connecticut license plates in a storm drain. The actual numbers on those plates connected back to the Suburban. On May 29, 2019, just 5 days after Jennifer was reported missing, both Fotis and Michelle took the Tacoma to a car wash. Later, the seats of that vehicle were removed and replaced. Jennifer's blood was found on one of the old seats. Based on the evidence, the police developed a straightforward theory about what happened. Fotis drove the Toyota Tacoma to the park, rode a bicycle to Jennifer's rented mansion while disguising himself, murdered her when she came home. He took her by complete surprise, put her body in the Suburban, and somehow disposed of her body without being detected. No one has ever found Jennifer's body. During this time, Michelle was at the mansion on Jefferson Crossing, using her lover's phone to establish an alibi for him. Later, both of them drove around as Fotis disposed of other evidence connected to the crime, like Jennifer's clothing. On June 1, 2019, Fotis and Michelle were charged with hindering prosecution and tampering with evidence. Michelle moved out of the residence owned by Fotis, so she moved out of the mansion on Jefferson Crossing. I guess there was trouble in paradise, probably because of the murder part. On January 7, 2020, Fotis was charged with murder, capital murder, and kidnapping. Michelle was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. The next day, Fotis was released on a $6 million bond. On January 28, 2020, Fotis missed a court hearing that was scheduled for 12 p.m. When the police showed up at his mansion, they found him unresponsive and transported him to a hospital. He had connected a vacuum cleaner hose to the exhaust of his SUV and ran the vehicle's engine. A note was found which read, quote, "I refuse to spend even an hour more in jail for something I had nothing to do with," unquote. 2 days later, Fotis Dulos died. At the time of his death, he was $4.5 million in debt and facing a $2.5 million lawsuit from Jennifer's family. Apparently, he had borrowed money from her family to sustain his real estate business. Fotis may have escaped justice, but his lover was still facing charges. On March 1, 2024, Michelle Troconis was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree hindering prosecution, 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence, and 2 counts of conspiracy to tamper with physical evidence. On May 31 of that year, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison, suspended after 14 and a half years. Now moving to my analysis. Michelle Troconis maintains her innocence, and she has a large number of supporters who believe that she was just another victim of Fotis. He must have lied to her about what he was really doing. So all these moves that she made were not really to help with the murder. She was a victim too. The state, of course, disagrees. They believe that Michelle actively participated in a conspiracy to murder Jennifer. She knew exactly what the outcome was going to be. This brings me to the question, was Michelle guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Even though Fotis was never convicted of murdering Jennifer, there is no question he was the killer. It seems incredibly obvious. Michelle was having an affair with Fotis, which gave her a motive to conspire with her lover to harm Jennifer. Michelle initially provided Fotis with an alibi, saying that he was with her until 8:15 a.m. on the day that Jennifer disappeared. Later, when the police confronted Michelle with evidence that he was not with her, she changed her story. Michelle modified her story on other occasions, changed the topic, and was evasive. She kept backing herself into a corner when she was talking with the police. Michelle rode in her lover's 2014 Ford F-150 Raptor when he was disposing of evidence. At one point, she opened the passenger side door of the vehicle the same time as Fotis was disposing of evidence in a trash receptacle. The police found a 2-page handwritten schedule in the mansion where Fotis and Michelle lived on Jefferson Crossing. Michelle confirmed the handwriting belonged to the two of them. So who wrote the note was not a mystery. The schedule contained an outline of activities for May 24 and May 25, 2019, presented in increments of approximately an hour. Conveniently omitted on this schedule was the trip they made to dispose of evidence in Hartford, Connecticut. The schedule appeared to be their alibi. So they wrote all this out in order to keep things straight for when suspicion inevitably fell on them. While Fotis was busy killing Jennifer, Michelle had his cell phone back at the mansion where they lived. She answered a call, locked and unlocked the cell phone several times, and moved around with it. It looked like she was trying to establish an alibi for Fotis. Moving to the exculpatory factors, as far as the changing of stories, Michelle's first language was Spanish, not English. There may have been a language barrier. When Michelle was in the mansion with her lover's cell phone, she may have believed that he was home as well, but somewhere else in the mansion. It was a big place. Fotis was described as being charming and manipulative. He was able to deceive many people throughout his career. Maybe he told Michelle that he was going to commit a crime and needed help with his alibi, but he did not tell her it was murder. Perhaps he claimed it was some lesser crime, something tied to his real estate business or something like that. Michelle might not have thought too much of getting involved in something minor, but she was not interested in murder. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Michelle was guilty of conspiracy to commit murder? Yes, I believe she was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury made the right decision. I also believe the judge made the right decision by giving Michelle a relatively light sentence. She was probably manipulated to some degree by her lover. Fotis was definitely the ringleader of this homicidal conspiracy. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Fotis Dulos was self-centered, grandiose, arrogant, charismatic, shallow, manipulative, deceptive, immature, impulsive, violent, cold, callous, sadistic, falsely believed he was special, and had a sense of entitlement. Jennifer knew that Fotis was married when he initiated a romance with her, but she somehow convinced herself that he was a trustworthy person. The couple lived a life of luxury, which was far beyond their means, but Jennifer probably didn't know about all the financial problems. Michelle knew that Fotis was married to Jennifer when they started having an affair. Like Jennifer, she convinced herself that Fotis could be trusted. Michelle may have also been attracted to the wealth that her lover supposedly possessed. Fotis lived in a fantasy world where he could have whatever he wanted. Reality was not going to get in his way. Despite facing inevitable financial ruin, he decided that Jennifer wasn't going to get his children. This is what he wanted to focus on. He convinced Michelle to help him out, probably with the promise that they would be together forever. Jennifer represented the one problem standing in the way of their eternal happiness. Everything would be okay once she was out of the picture. Michelle probably rationalized her behavior and believed that she wasn't really doing anything wrong. This was a conflict between two other people. They had a long history together. She was just helping one of them with an alibi. Fotis was going to kill Jennifer with or without Michelle's assistance. Michelle didn't want him to go to prison. Now moving to my final thoughts. The lesson in this case is not to get involved with someone who is willing to have an extramarital affair. The level of deception required to engage in infidelity is incompatible with a stable and healthy relationship. It's a bad sign. It's a red flag. Even if the offender is genuinely turning over a new leaf, the romance will always be built on a shaky and unsustainable foundation. Those are my thoughts on the case of Jennifer Dulos and Michelle Troconis. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.